us mammoths, moving in the dark. Still and fury, gonna leave a mark. Redwood shadow, our planting is fall. God Thanksgiving wants it all. Red shadow, not plotting this fall. God Wednesday wants it all. Wants it all. It's everlasting. We're lost in the veins. Mammoths raw echoes with tormented pain. Agents of war, squeeze Sylvia. Clash of titans, destruction everywhere. Because of titans, deep frost in the veins. Mammoth's wolf echoes with torment and pain. Engines of war screeches fill the air. Clash of titans, destruction everywhere. Zoids to feel the heat clash till morning light. Blue Zoids take the stands, steel against the flame. Through the stars they dance, war is their only game. Red horn shadow casts its thread, but we won't back down. Iron wills and metal hearts, we defend the ground. Hey, stars burning bright, feel the power, feel the fight. Hold your ground and never let it go. Mighty Zoids still leads us on. Beneath the moons of Zoidstars glow, the clash of titans row by row. In the din of chaos we stand tall. With Mammoth roar we'll never fall. Stars above tremble with our cries. Through the smoke we see those red eyes. Blaze of fury, we never tire. Heart of steel in the light of fire. titans, destruction everywhere. 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 Everybody's deep, rust in the veins. Mammoth roar echoes with toes, torment and pain. Engines of war, screeches fill the air. Clash of titans, destruction everywhere. Everywhere. Gonna leave a mark. Gonna leave a mark. Red horse shadow, reflecting its fall. Dark planet scheming, once in all. The trail runs deep, lost in the veins. Man's more echoes with torment and pain. Engines of war, screeches fill the air. Clash of titans, destruction everywhere. Everywhere. Gonna leave a mark. Everywhere. Gonna leave a mark.